Thank you for coming to this presentation. My name is George Robinson, Jr. I am the Assistant Director of Multicultural Affairs. Valerie Allen and I, she's the Director of International Affairs. Valerie and I are doing this presentation. Right now she's not here because she's going to pick up a few international students, so she's with me in spirit. So, civility, a new kind of mission. That's kind of our theme today. That's kind of our theme for civility right now, something that we had came up with. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it is, where it started, how we're impacting Vincennes University campus with civility, and how we can use civility to engage in professional collegiality, which is another portion of this session. So, civility is a formal politeness, courtesy of behavior and speech. Also, for those of you who do not have packets, if you can look at someone next to you, I do want you to engage in a little activity throughout the session. Make sure I have my copy. This is a quote from Forney. I love this quote. Civility is a form of goodness. It is gracious goodness, but it is not just an attitude of benevolent and thoughtful relating to other individuals. It also entails an active interest in the well-being of our communities and even a concern for the health of the planet on which we live. I like this quote because it really speaks a lot of volume about how to be civil and how to interact with those we meet on a daily basis. So where did it start? We had a student affairs retreat actually in this room, for those who were here. We had a retreat in this room and we talked about topics that will impact the students and also impact the campus. And something that we came up with was civility. That was like one of the underlying themes for the retreat, for retention, for how do we get engaged in our community here. It started as a week. It was going to just be a civility week, but then moving forward as we got the ball rolling, now it's became an initiative. Civility is genuine respect and regard for others, politeness, consideration, good manners. So I highlighted a few words through this presentation, which is respect, which I'll tell you a little bit about that word in a second. Our community here consists of students, faculty and staff, alumni. We have visitors. Community members affect each other's well-being and have a shared interest in creating and sustaining an environment where all community members and their points of view are valued and respected, affirming the value of each member of Vincennes University community. So again, we want to make sure that we're aware of what civility really is to us. A few things that we've done to impact the campus and Start VU. So we have a session in Start VU where we do civility. We also have had t-shirts during opening weekend. We also induce it there. The I Appreciate You is something new that we did last year. So if you stopped by some offices and they've had the Appreciate You cards, it was a great idea so that we can share that love and share that compassion for the people that work with us and also the students as well. During Family Weekend, we also had civility there. We put it on the t-shirts. I am thankful for. So around Thanksgiving, we implemented, hey, how can we, make people, more civil or kind of pay attention to that? And we had I am thankful for cards, which a lot of people received, and we got good feedback from that. And also we had it during the National Hazing Prevention Week. We had t-shirts. So we've collaborated with a number of offices and ways to implement civility on campus here. One thing that we were working on was the survey. If you haven't seen the survey, it is still active online, I believe. You can go on and you can take the survey. We would love the feedback so that we can assess, hey, how do you feel about civility? So I'm going to take a quick break for the activity, which is the civility score sheet that you have in front of you. If you can take the time to fill that out for me, then we'll discuss how you feel about your scores. So is everyone quite finished? This is something, for those who don't have packets, I have some more back in my office to share with you after the presentation if you would like a packet. What are some of your thoughts about this assessment here? Does anybody want to share what they thought about their scores? No? Nobody wants to share?
I would like an electronic copy for my class.
Sure. I'll get you a copy.
I'll share.
Go ahead.
I scored a 6, which is still on the level of having a keen sense of self-awareness, but I think sometimes at work I'm able to kind of watch myself a little more, but at home, the hurtful things I might say come out to somebody I love more, so I might be a little less guarded when I'm not at work.
Thank you for sharing. I thought that this, when I took it, I thought it was really something to look at, to examine, okay, what is civility, for one, and how does it cross my mind? Like the first question, is it important for me to say exactly what's on my mind? Sometimes it is, because we have feelings, we are human. Move along. That was just a quick insert. This was part of the survey as well. A few questions that we wanted to address, like what's your definition of civility? Do you believe there's a civility issue at Vincennes? If you can go online on the website, it should be up there if you want to take the survey and give us some feedback. You find it on MyVU. It should be on the side. If it's not, then I'll contact who I need to get it loaded back up. Yeah, it should be. And I also sent out a mass email, and I can redo that. Or at the end of the presentation, you can leave me your information, and I'll get that to you. So we also developed a committee. And on the committee, we came up with several ideas of how can we impact the campus with civility. And these were a few of our ideas. And one that we're implementing as of now, January, is Civility Action Word of the Month. So that's why I highlighted respect, because for the month of January, that is the action word. Civility is respect. So how does civility and respect tie together? A work environment where employees are respectful and considerate in their interactions with one another, as well as with customers, clients, and the public. So having respect for yourself, also you will have respect for others. There's another little thing to fill out there for a second, and you can do that on your own time. On the next page, there is a behavior sheet in the workplace of what you on the disrespectful side, you can list what you identify as disrespectful in the workplace and what you identify as respectful in the workplace. And then we can examine some of those and try to figure out, hey, how can we be more respectful in our work environment? But you can fill that out on your own time. Now, how does this tie into professional collegiality? Professional collegiality strives to build a consensus. That's what we're here for. The concept of collegiality may seem familiar to most people in academia, but there are hidden interpretations, diverse effects that may escape causal examination of the term. So assume collegiality works in many different ways, from cooperative projects to governance committee activities to many interactions we have in higher education. There are a few of us that are on committees, we have meetings. There are a number of things that we do together that brings that collegiality. Collegiality encompasses the basics of professional ethics of the academic world. Respect, there's that word again, for persons, integrity of intellectual inquiry, concerns for needs and rights of students, clientele, awareness, and workplace safety. Now, when you talk about collegiality, you talk about civility. Because in order to be collegiate, we have to be civil. We first have to realize, how am I communicating with this person? How are my actions coming off? So proper ways to address and interact with colleagues. How am I interacting with my colleague? How am I being an example of professional collegiality? A few things that we're going to examine here are some issues. Email wars. When we communicate, we can't control how other people interpret our communications. So in some emails, hey, we might send one thing, but somebody else might interpret it or perceive it another way because I can't read tone, I can't read feeling, I can't read emotion when I'm, looking at an email. When is the last time you emailed a message with a tweaking CC? I know we CC a lot of people sometimes, but that is something, that I observed doing some research on how is professional collegiality impacted by the things we do on a daily basis. So we email daily, we email each other daily, but having to deal with my share of angry emails over the years, how do we resolve this? It doesn't have to be a face-to-face meeting. I can just pick up the phone call. I can pick up the phone, make a phone call. Hey, I wanted to talk about your email and try to get this worked out. That's a quick, effective way to say, I didn't really understand your email. Can we talk about it a little more? Or what did you mean about this? Or how can I help you, help me, help us, help each other, help the community? When we're forced to communicate a real human interaction, we're a lot less likely to go overboard with it and can move to resolve the issue in a much more civilized manner. So the more we engage with each other, the more likely we are to actually feel what that person is feeling and actually kind of get, to the root of how can I help you? How can I be civil? How can I be an example? These are a few other bullet points that, we face every day when we're dealing with professional collegiality and being civil. Rudeness, workplace violence, unprofessionalism, talking down to people, emails in all caps. Those are just a few things I highlighted. How can we use civility to engage in professional collegiality? Civility enhances academic freedom and integrity and is a prerequisite to the free exchange of ideas and knowledge in the learning community. We're in a learning community. That's what we do. We teach. We learn in order to serve. So don't treat others as adversaries. The golden rule, do unto others as you would like done unto you. So how many times do we, walk past somebody and don't say anything? Or how many times can we recognize our own biases when we're looking at how to be civil or how to be collegiate? Be attentive to perspective. So sensitivity, like what is my perspective about how I'm going to express what I need to say? Is my perspective, a negative perspective? Is it, a racial perspective? Do I recognize my bias? Those are some things that we need to pay attention to because what somebody else perceives when I say it or when I express it might be different. And do not commit a suicide. Effective communication. And I thought that was awesome because oftentimes we might assume something without doing the proper communicative channels to say, hey, what did you mean by this? Or how are you feeling about this? Recognizing how we can communicate more effectively. I have a short thing I want to go over again, promoting respect in your workplace. If we can take a brief moment to go over just some of those things, and then we'll have a little discussion about it. If you can list 2 or 3 things that would promote more respect in your departments, in the workplace, then we can go over how we can implement that and discuss it. So as everybody jot down some ideas? Does anyone want to share some things that they can do to promote respectful behavior in the workplace or in your department? Go ahead.
Well, I'm in between 2 worlds at the moment. One of the things that I found, especially when you're talking about email as a form of communication, that it's nice to implement a little bit of theory with people, and if they haven't read Walter Arnold's Writer's Volume, which is always a fiction, then we either give them the link to that or PDF file or something along those lines, because it does point out that there is a dichotomy between the way we communicate in the oral form and in the written form, and you can't get across everything in the written form if you can in the oral form because your audience is at that removed. And if you have that theory backing it up, I think if people were able to implement that, then they might realize, whoa, hang on a second, how am I coming across here as far as emails going? And another idea, especially when you're talking about issues of argument and understanding the person's, the other side of the person's point of view, I'm just going to put speech in English, by the way, is have them look at Young, Becker, and Hyden's adaptations of Carl Rogers' conflict resolution theory, because particularly speaking from English and speech, we tend to approach, well, rhetoric being the domain of both, you take your point of view and you defend it, pretty much run at the wall until I go through it. We don't really address the other side except to stand on the other side's throat while we're trying to persuade. So if you're using Young, Becker, and Pike, their big emphasis is on establishing common ground between two parties and trying to establish conflict resolution that way. Now people will probably, I gotta read this, but I think that that if you make that available to them and really, I mean, even make it mandatory, I suppose, that you would be able to promote greater amount of respect in the workplace if you have that theoretical backing and then take the theory into practice.
Awesome. Thank you.
I used to know a great philosopher, my mom.
Awesome.
So I'm in my 50s, and all my things have to do with my mom, like please and thank you to everyone, not just the boss, but also the people who have no effect on your job.
Yeah.
Opening doors for others, just doing those kind of things, listening to people instead of just asking the question and moving on. I wrote the word shoes down. I don't know what. I haven't lived in your shoes. You haven't lived in my shoes. I actually do that in several of my classes. I have students bring in their favorite pair of shoes to let others know, you know, we just don't know what other people's shoes, what their shoes, what they're going through. And so all of my things have to do with the great philosopher Mary Louise Cohen, who passed away about 15 years ago. And that's kind of, all my things went back to the things that I remember her telling me. And I didn't really get it. I didn't get her philosophy. But it sure is ingrained in my mind. And I think people my age, our age at least, our parents were great philosophers probably in civility.
Awesome. Anyway, go ahead.
I think we're too connected. I mean, one of the things, how many people here get notes from people, texts, well, we need to do this, or emails? We've lost the art of communication, like you were talking about. I think it's too easy to type something up and send it and not have to deal with the person, get back to doing what you're doing. I think we just need to make the effort for more face-to-face.
Awesome.
I have one more thing here too.
Go ahead.
That she brings to my mind. Students talk about hope, and I try to, and I'm not real good at it. But just a smile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a smile. My wife calls it the look, and I think I'm not giving it. And I mean, you know I'm not giving it, but I'm giving it.
Yeah.
And I still haven't got figured out the facial muscles I need to use and how to do it.
It's just automatic.
But I don't need to have that look. I gotta stand in front of the mirror and figure out what look I gave her when she had something off the Christmas tree over this year.
Oh, no.
It was by accident, but I must have given her a look. But really smiling, and
Yeah.
students talk about, I just bring that focus.
Yeah.
Smile.
She's smiling. And that smile does impact you, you know?
Yeah.
It goes a long way. It goes a long way. Anybody else want to share? Go ahead.
I think it's really easy to compliment each other, so we should compliment each other, not just how we look. But if you work with somebody for a while, give them a deep compliment, like something that touches their heart. Second of all, some people can't control their tongues very well, so they should probably stick to email because they can backspace those terrible things. So face-to-face is generally a good rule unless you can't control your tongue like you should.
Yeah. Yeah. According to Cipriano, the number one thing a department can do to promote a collegial workplace can be summed up in 3 words. Invest in people. This can be operationalized, he said, by doing the following. Helping each other achieve our goals. We're all here for a common purpose, which is to serve, whether it's in our department, students, whatever it may be, that's our job. But if you need some help, hey, if I can do what I can, I'll do that, to assist the greater good. Develop a genuine interest in every faculty or member. People you work with, do you really have an actual interest in them, or you just, hey, this is automatic, it's the regular routine? Or do we create a new routine in our lives that we actually interact with people and we speak, or we have that face-to-face, or we smile? Treat people with respect, there's that word again, and dignity always. Goes back to mom, yeah. Always say thank you, always say please, And the more we get in the habit of doing that, it becomes automatic. Recognize people publicly for their achievements. When is the last time you touched somebody's heart and said, hey, gave them a compliment? You did a really good job in doing this, or this. Remember that relationships built on trust and fed by personal integrity are the foundation of how we can be civil, how we can use civility to promote professional collegiality. Recognize that poor behavior by others does not require you to respond in kind, but you do need to respond. Regardless if somebody said something that offended you, you take a second, process it, but you don't give that same response back, because even though it was a negative energy, I don't have to exchange with you in a negative way. So recognizing that, and model characteristics you wish the faculty and staff to exhibit. How can we say one thing but don't do it ourselves? So for me, I'm up here talking about civility, but for one, I speak to everyone. I have good character because I know that it can take me a long way in the end. Acknowledge that leadership is more of a function of people's relationships than a position. We're all in leadership roles. We're all in leadership roles, but the relationship we have in our leadership roles, even within ourselves, what is the role we have within ourselves that we see? So the more we pour into ourselves and the more, we respect ourselves, I believe we can respect others as well. And thank you. If you have any questions. Questions, comments, concerns? No? Yeah.
So, is this, you keep choosing the word workplace.
Well,
Is this designed for workplace or campus and classroom? What is your
so, my goal.
Campus and classroom different, from a different perspective than workplace for us?
Well, it was a two-part, so I had to combine campus and professional collegiality, but to have professional collegiality, you got to recognize the workplace.
So we're doing this with our students?
You're doing that with students, you're doing that with pretty much anybody, And there's a few other things in that packet that I would love you to read if you can read it on your own time. It's just a few things to share on how, some things to remember, promoting respect in the workplace, signs of civility, and what respect is. And I really like that last one because it breaks down the word respect. But to address that, yes, it can be used for campus, workplace, whatever. You can be civil, just smiling at someone.
I guess I just meant, are we going to try to do some programs for our students?
Oh yes, and that was another thing. I really wanted to have more faculty buy-in for that, because the more we become an example and we share it with students, they'll share it on the campus. They'll have that pride in having a teacher I can relate to, or I have that good rapport where I can go to some other student and say, hey, yeah, take this teacher's class because of the relationship they've built with me, because they recognize that how to be civil, or teaching me how to be civil in the classroom and also outside of the classroom.
That's sort of the direction I was going to go with my question is, while this has been very focused on our roles in civility, I know that the Student Government Association, student leadership, residence halls are involved in this project, and I was going to ask you to share some of the student responses when you first introduced this.
Oh, the students love it. Well, they love their t-shirts. But on the t-shirts, you see them when they start wearing it and they start actually exemplifying the behavior. So they're sharing that with their roommate. They're sharing that with the next student in class. So it's really, we're wanting to impact students, but we're wanting to impact everyone. So, and impacting a student also impacts everyone else. So they say you empower a student, you know, you change a whole world. So we definitely have had great feedback from students. We also plan to get them more involved with Civility. So like even in Start VU, when we do the presentation, those incoming students that's coming here, we let them know, hey, be civil, be more respectful, you know, interact, engage. You know, how many times do we, especially in our generation, how many times do we not speak to someone because we're on our phone? Or we're, you know what I mean, or we're just not cognizant of people being around us. We're just on autopilot. So like having that, you know, we had a lot of students that gave us some good feedback, and we're still trying to work with them on how they can actually promote it a little more too. So getting them, they love the appreciation. They handed out a few cards to some of their faculty and staff. They gave a few thank you, I am thankful for, to a few faculty and staff members. So I think impacting them as well is making a statement here, but also if we get both, then we can change the whole campus climate.
George, can you share what activities you have planned associated with the Word of the Month?
Yes, we actually will be putting the Word of the Month around campus. Valerie and I are actually coming up with other ways to kind of incorporate respect for the month of January. So every event that comes up, we collaborate with student activities or anybody who's having an event or something going on. Hey, would you like us to come and speak here? Like I know yesterday she spoke at the RA carousel or whatever they call it. What is it called? I don't know. What is it called? Training. The RA training. Last time it was carousel. At the RA training is where she spoke about civility. So we're trying to find ways to engage activities to not be overbearing, but also make it subtle of, hey, this is a natural thing. Civility is natural. It's not something that should be pumped or primed. It's just something we should do. So that is one way we're trying to really engage.
The only time it isn't natural is when you're in an emotional setting.
Yeah.
Where a serious disagreement, or someone's attacking you verbally, then it's hard not to have an emotional response back. So that's when I think this can become very helpful, is when you talk more about how to be civil when it isn't your natural response.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, to try to set a more mature tone, a more respectful tone.
Yeah.
And in the classroom or with a colleague during a disagreement, because a lot of times the tone you set will be reciprocated.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? You guys are awesome. Just want you to know that.